And I remember saying, this is really going to be awesome. It's awesome. It's a big coaster. And got done, I asked for any questions. And the lady looked at me and she says, well, how are you going to keep that on the track? And I says, damn, I didn't think of that.
S&S is one of the smallest and weirdest coaster portfolios out of any major coaster manufacturer. They build a good handful of coasters every year, and although their business is relatively slow coaster-wise, they have a wide variety of models to offer. Not only are these quality additions, but they are extremely quirky models that are very unique to S&S. On top of this, S&S is known for world-class drop towers and have deep roots in the amusement industry. In today's video, we will explore this interesting history, dive into everything that S&S has to offer, and give my overall thoughts on this American-based manufacturer. Let's start off with some history. S&S was started by Stan Checketts and his wife Sandy in 1994. This is where the S&S comes from. Stan was attracted by adrenaline and got into the industry making bungee jump equipment, and this is where their first company, S&S Sports, comes from. While pursuing this passion, Stan wanted to revolutionize the way bungee jumping worked, and he created the Space Shot. This is an air-powered or pneumatic drop tower that propels you up into the air. It uses a compressed air system with huge chambers as a way to create vertical lift, and also uses pressure from the ride to create a natural braking system. Right from the start, this drop tower was a success. The first edition was installed in a small family entertainment center, and the rest was history. The most famous example of this specific type of tower is the one on top of the Stratosphere in Las Vegas. And coming from the success of the Space Shot, variations of these towers were engineered. The Turbo Drop is your standard drop tower that brings you to the top first and then propels you down, and the Double Shot launches you both up and down the tower. These towers are literally everywhere, and chances are, if you are a well-seasoned theme park goer, you've been on one of these. With these towers, S&S became well-versed in air-powered amusement rides and started to dip their toes in the world of coasters. Their first air-launched coasters were very good, but not without its problems. Hypersonic XLC lasted for a whopping 7 years and was not a good investment from King's Dominion at all. Dodonpa, a world-class coaster, has been sitting vacant at Fuji Q Highland for the past 2.5 years, and Ring Racer, which came much later, well, don't even get me started on that one. Even after all these failures, S&S still wanted to expand their coaster offerings, and after CCI filed for bankruptcy, a window opened to start their own wood coaster division. We will touch on these rides when we cover their catalog in full. That same year, S&S bought out the bankrupt Aerodynamics and acquired all their assets. For a good chunk of time, S&S improved on their air-powered coasters and manufactured a few of Aero's designs, most notably the 4D coaster. They did drop their wooden coaster subdivision in 2004 because, well, it was a bit of a failure and the competition proved to be too fierce. The last huge event that S&S Worldwide went through before now was that they were bought out by Sansei Technologies. This is why we know S&S as S&S Sansei Technologies. As some of you may know, Sansei did also buy out Vekoma, but this doesn't seem to be impacting S&S's ability to sell coasters too much, as they have had a steady stream of projects along with their continued construction of drop towers, and that's pretty much where S&S is standing today. They have a big prominence overseas and have one of the weirdest portfolios of any major manufacturer out there, so with that said, let's dive in and see what we can find. Before we get into the next segment, here's a quick reminder to join the Discord, link in the description. We are starting to do question of the day and trivia of the day there, and it's a lot of fun talking to all you guys, so just join the Discord, link in the description. Starting with their main offering, we have air-launched coasters. This is what S&S started with, and they have refined it to work wonders in more recent editions. Like we covered, the first couple installments were maintenance nightmares, but by no means were they bad. Dodonpa has the most powerful launch in the entire world, and that is the main selling point of this model. The launches are extremely powerful, and the best part is that it's unlike its rival counterpart, the Intamin Accelerator. There are usually full layouts that follow the world-class launch system. Bullet Coaster, OCT Thrust SSC 1000, and Extreme Rusher are the best examples of this, but Max Force is also pretty good. Overall, I think S&S rules in terms of pure launch power and coasters that follow, but I would really like to see more quantity from them in general. It's just hard to sell this model when LSMs are dominating the market and are 10 times more reliable. I definitely would like to see more coasters like Max Force be built in Western markets though. The next thing to come from S&S was their wooden coasters. Now these were kind of rough. The model itself was an abolishment. It was a horrible take on the wood coaster, and the engineering kind of just sucked. S&S wood coasters just aged like milk and became so rough so fast, and it wasn't fun. However, the lord and savior of this model, and maybe the coaster world in general, came to save the day. Alan Schilke. While this model isn't inherently good, the wood coasters that came from S&S are all pretty decent because they were designed by Alan Schilke himself. So not good, but not complete garbage. Now here's an interesting point in time where S&S wanted to experiment and try something new, and they dropped the Screaming Squirrel. I have zero clue what they were smoking when making this model, because I don't see a single rewarding factor of these coasters. They're compact, but is it that enough to justify how much they suck? I don't think so. The saxophone bends look so uncomfortable, and just being tossed around while hanging solely from a restraint is just not comfortable. I kind of see the creative vision, but this model is truly something that the coaster world did not need. I find it crazy that S&S was able to sell more than one of these, but they are a spectacle, I guess. And besides being terrible rides, the coasters are absolutely beautiful, and that's all what matters, right? In 2006, we were blessed with possibly the best thing to come to the amusement industry since I don't even know when. Edgenica. SNS manufactured the first 4-dimensional coaster since the bankruptcy of Aerodynamics and the overall failure of X. Edgenica was and is a piece of art that is still held in high regard, even using modern coaster standards. I truly did think Edgenica is an unrivaled coaster in pretty much everything it has to offer, and definitely deserves all the love it receives. This model, which is more credited to Aerodynamics, is by far the best option that SNS has to offer, and one of the most unique experiences on the planet. I mean, you already know you're getting quality when you have Ellen Schilke and a 4-dimensional coaster in the same sentence. It's literally just a better version of X2, and Dynaconda is just as good, but doesn't get as much attention because, well, it's in China. I really do love this model. It took some time to grow on me, and as much as I want to see it grow across the world as well, it is just way too expensive and too niche for parks looking to actively buy one. I could see 1, maybe 2 of these being built in the next 20 years, but unless SNS manages to get the price tag down, it's not going to be a common edition or even close to that. And part of me wants it to remain a novelty because it makes the experience even more one of a kind. The next model that opened is the El Loco. This is actually a super well-rounded model. Essentially, it is an extreme version of a Wild Mouse, so a super tight layout that's lateral focused, except you have inversions and beyond vertical drops mixed in. I have ridden El Loco at Adventure Dome and actually enjoyed my experience quite a bit. I definitely think it's the best iteration of these small-scale compact layouts, though I think RMC's Wild Moose definitely has a shot at being the best if it does ever open. In terms of ride experience, this model gives really funky laterals with weird profiling, some airtime in the drops, and crazy hang time in the inversions. I definitely think it's one of the most versatile options on the market, and I see SNS building a lot more of these for some smaller regional parks. Here are a bunch of weird models that in my opinion don't really match up with SNS's quality standards. First up, there is the Freefly, and this is quite literally the strangest model out there. Essentially, it's a wing coaster with wings that spin to stay upright, so the track can go any direction, but you'll just be moved around while sitting upright. I think the gimmick itself is cool and it's a fun ride, but beyond that, it's just like, why? I think the number of installments kind of reflects how good this ride is. A model that is absolutely not reflected by the number of the installments is the Free Spin. God, I hate free spins so much. This model combines the 4-dimensional coaster aspect with RMC track and a compact layout to create a super awkward experience. You kind of just freely flip around and there's brakes on the turn so you don't flip out of control. In my opinion, this ride really just feels like a flat ride and is surprisingly scary. I just don't think it's good, and that pretty much is just the general consensus. It honestly looks really cool, but as far as the ride experience goes, it's just not it, man. The next 2 models I don't really feel like talking about too much because, well, there's just not much to talk about. Their Family Invert and the Mine Train are just their iterations on already popular family coaster models. The Family Invert is reminiscent of the Vekoma SFC, and the Mine Train is just a take on the classic old Mine Train. These models do what they are supposed to do, which is entertain families with children, and the extent of their viability pretty much ends right there. Something that's a lot more interesting is the compact LSM coaster, which is essentially Gale Force. This coaster actually does crazy things with the multi-pass LSM launch and has outright crazy elements. Based on reviews, it seems to have a good plethora of forces, but lacks little in terms of the restraint system and how it tracks. And the more and more I make this video, the more and more I realize that SNS dominates the compact coaster market, and if you take out Premier, then they are pretty much the go-to man for this type of ride. The last model we have to talk about is the one and only Axis coaster. I feel like I can spend an entire video talking about this model, and I might in the future, but in summary, here are my thoughts. I think the Axis is extremely gimmicky and has the potential to be just as disorienting as the 4-dimensional coaster. For some reason, I can't shake off the feeling that it's not crazy durable and can't pull extreme forces, but that's totally just a me thing. I definitely think the type of model has the capability to beat the 4-dimensional coaster if designed correctly. I also think that this model has the capability to be really bad if it's designed poorly. I know Alan Schilke isn't designing coasters anymore, but I do have faith in Joe Draves and all of his work. I mean, Airy Force 1 was a masterpiece. Anyways, the first 2 installments of this coaster are meh. They're pretty small scale, but every big idea has got to start somewhere, right? I do think we will see bigger installations in the near future, and this is the model of the next decade right there with the RMC T-Rex. So that's SNS for you. They have a crazy interesting history with their pneumatic launch towers and specialize in air-powered coasters. They have tried a lot of interesting coaster designs, and some of them are great, like the El Loco, and some of them are just plain stupid, like this Riemann Squirrel. Most of their clientele at the moment is non-Western countries, but I would love to see some more accessible coasters from them, like they seriously got to build an Axis coaster somewhere besides Saudi Arabia. Anyways, I think this company has an incredibly bright future, and I am excited to see what's in store for them. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, join the Discord, link in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.